Using podcasting to build a business without the burnout. Most podcasters give up before they ever see any results. Why? Because they're building their podcast the wrong way, like it's a side hustle or a passion project instead of a powerful business tool. And here's the kicker. When you treat your podcast like just content, well, you set yourself up for that burnout, the frustration, disappointment. But when you treat it like a business asset, everything changes. So today, I'm going to show you how to use your podcast to build authority, attract clients, and grow your business without burning yourself out. Stick with me because I'll give a clear framework to make your podcast sustainable, profitable, and actually enjoyable to run. Hey there, I'm Gordon Firemark, the podcast lawyer, and this is Legit Podcast Pro, where we help creators like you to build profitable, protected, professional podcasts and the businesses that use them. Over the years, I've worked with hundreds of podcasters and content creators, and I've seen both sides of the coin. Those who get burnt out, pod fade, and eventually quit, and those who build thriving businesses powered by their podcasts. The difference isn't talent. No, it's luck. It's strategy. And today I'm going to give you the tools to make sure your podcast isn't just another show, but a core part of your business's growth. So, first off is the burnout problem. We'll start with that elephant in the room. Why do so many podcasts die after only 7 or 8 episodes? Why do even successful shows sometimes vanish after as little as a year? Well, here are some of the big reasons. First, overproduction without returns. You're putting in dozens of hours creating, editing, publishing, but you don't see results in your business. That's a problem. Chasing downloads instead of business outcomes. It feels great to get more listeners, but if those listeners aren't moving toward your products and services or offers, well, what's the point? Trying to do everything yourself. That's another reason. You're the host, the editor, the social media manager, the email marketer, and it's only a matter of time before you hit a wall. Here's a real-world example. A coach that I worked with launched a podcast, went weekly, and built up a small but loyal audience. But because she hadn't connected her show to her business goals, it wasn't bringing her clients. So after a year of hard work and little or no ROI, she was exhausted and almost quit. And that's the story for thousands of podcasters. Fortunately, we were able to get her some coaching, and she figured out a strategy to avoid the burnout and turn things around so she could see a real return whenever she put out an episode. Sure enough, new folks coming in the door to at least talk to her about her services. So the content treadmill is what really eats folks alive, but it doesn't have to be that way. So let's reframe your podcast as a business asset. This is the shift that really changes everything. It's not just content. It is part of your business. It's the marketing arm. Think about it like this. Your episodes, they're a digital handshake, conversations that build authority and trust. They're a magnet for the right kind of people, your future customers. When you design your podcast around your business goals, you stop playing the game of likes and downloads and start playing the game of clients, customers, and revenue. Another example, financial advisor uses their podcast to educate listeners and naturally funnels them into their consulting packages. A membership founder uses their show to preview what members get inside the membership and converts listeners into paying subscribers. A course creator might build demand for their course by giving away helpful, relevant insights in every episode. You see, the podcast isn't just a side project, it's the engine that powers the marketing. For those who are familiar with the idea of a marketing funnel or a sales funnel, the podcast is that top level of the funnel, the free experience that gets folks paying attention and into your world. Then, if you can offer them some way to get onto a mailing list or something else and keep telling them more about your products and services, eventually they find their way to the bottom of the funnel, which is the purchase point. And when you treat your show this way, burnout becomes a lot less likely because you're seeing real results. So let's talk about how to keep your podcast and your business part of your podcast sustainable. You do that by building systems. Here are some essentials. First off, batch recording. Don't record, edit, and publish week to week. Sit down once a month and record 4 or maybe 6 episodes. It'll save you time and reduce stress. Guest onboarding. Use a simple form and a release agreement to streamline those guest appearances. This will ensure that you have all the rights you need to use the interview, and it keeps the process running smoothly. Outsource your post-production, editing, show notes, graphics, social media clips. If you can afford to, delegate. Your genius is in the creating and connecting with your audience. Let someone else worry about spending hours on waveforms and timestamps. Repurpose your content. One podcast episode could become 3 YouTube clips, 5 social posts, an email newsletter, a blog article. That's leverage at work. And you should also develop legal systems. Yes, I'm the podcast lawyer, so you knew this was coming, but I can't stress this enough. Contracts with your collaborators, releases for your guests. Make sure you have ownership of your content the way you think you do, and get these legal systems in place to keep everything running without any drama. Think of it this way. Every system you put in place is a brick in the foundation of a stress-free podcasting business. So, let's talk about monetization that works without ads. Money talk. Let's face it, ad revenue is not going to cut it for most podcasters. Unless you've got tens or hundreds of thousands of downloads per episode, the ads are going to be, chump change. So what's better? 1, use your podcast for that funnel we were talking about. If you're a coach, consultant, course creator, membership owner, your podcast is that top of funnel. It brings people in and builds trust. Strategic sponsorships. Instead of waiting for ad networks to do it for you, find brand partners that align with your message. Could even be that cross promotions with other creators make it work for you. Memberships and premium content. Offer bonus episodes, behind the scenes access, community features, deeper engagement with you, access to you in exchange for a subscription fee. Or you could sell merch or do events or licensing. Your podcast could lead to merchandise. It could lead to a live event. One friend and client of mine is doing live events for his Patreon members, and they do a live recording and reading of his show only for members who pay an admission, basically, to get in and see the show. You could do that without it being a membership thing. Just sell admission and advance when you're going to visit a new town or something. Do a special appearance there. You can do licensing deals. The principle is to monetize in ways that support your bigger business goals, not just in ways that put a few dollars in your pocket today the easy way. So, here's a little framework to tie it all together. The Burnout-Proof framework for podcasting and business. Align your show with your business goals. Know exactly how each episode serves that bigger vision. Create efficient systems. Batch, outsource, and repurpose, and keep your workload sustainable. Monetize with strategies you control, and don't rely only on ad networks. Build offers and opportunities that you own, and you keep the lion's share of the profits. Protect your intellectual property. Set up your limited liability company. Get contracts in place and register your trademarks to protect your brand. When you do all of these 4 things, your podcast goes from being a hobby to being one of the most powerful assets in your business. Podcasting doesn't need to be something that burns you out. It can be the most effective, enjoyable, and profitable part of your business if you build it the right way. And if you want to see how to set up your podcast for growth, profit, and protection, I've got a free video you can check out. It's called Level Up Your Podcast Success. And inside, I will show you the exact steps to structure your podcast as a professional business engine. You can watch this particular secret video by visiting gordonfiremark.com/levelup. And that's it for this episode. Thank you for joining me here on Legit Podcast Pro. I'm Gordon Firemark, the podcast lawyer, and I'll be back next week with another episode. So keep creating, keep on growing, and keep it legit.